So, boomers are the gatekeeper generation beyond a shadow of a doubt. They lived in a time that allowed them to buy a house for the price of a bicycle, proceeded to then lock the doors behind them, and then, just for fun, they raised the rent on the rest of us. They hoard, to this day, the vast majority of wealth in this country, safeguarding it as if their lives literally depend on it. Literally. And don't give me this whole, growing up in a time of scarcity bullshit either, right? That mentality inherited from their parents' lived experience, having gone through the Great Depression, which caused the boomers to have a fear of loss or fear of lack of opportunity, things of that nature. Don't give me this shit, man. Don't give me this shit. They're fucking obsessed with material possession and the accumulation of wealth. Seriously, they think it goes hand in hand with their self-worth. Actually, I mean, speak to any boomer, right? Just listen to the way that they talk about it. They think the more I have, the better person I must be, right? Otherwise, why would I have all of this? I must be fucking great. I must be a genius or something. I just bought a boat that's 2.5 feet longer than my neighbor's. Therefore, my sack drags on the floor when I walk. And Vern over there couldn't find his Peter with the Hubble Space Telescope. I mean, they're fucking insane. Really insane. Not to mention the fact that they absolutely and utterly have clogged politics and have done so for decades. Just look at the likes of Mitch McConnell, right? He's 80, 83. He's 83 years old and he took his seat in 1985. I mean, let that sink in. 1985, he still holds his seat. I mean, how this is even legal or tolerated by the masses is just beyond me. Or Nancy Pelosi, that absolute witch of an individual who's 85 and I might add has one of the most remarkable, successful trading and stock portfolios of just about anyone, literally beating out entire companies and corporations whose sole job is to find and employ the best and brightest amongst us from the most elite and instantly recognizable institutions whose entire livelihood is to turn as much of a profit as possible. Yet, somehow, this ancient walking corpse is able to outperform these conglomerates and has amassed a net worth of several hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay? Hundreds of millions of dollars on a civil servant salary of about 170K, give or take a few thousand a year. Really? Get the fuck out of here, dude. There's no way. And to top it off, they refuse to give up their seat on top of the system as they watch us elbow and claw at each other for a fraction of what they possess, they being boomers, all while telling us we need to work harder. Oh, well, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I had to walk 27 miles to school uphill with nothing but a torch and a backpack made of tree sap and animal hide. You don't know how good you have it, you ungrateful fuck, you piece of shit millennial with your even more worthless Gen Z offspring. I fought in a war. Dude, fuck you. Seriously, maybe I would have fought in a war too if I had the guarantee of a life worth returning to. right? To a woman that wasn't selling access to her C-sectioned nude images for $4.99 a month on Only Sluts to any next man with a fucking debit card and a bottle of Jergens, right? If I could come home to economic prosperity and the ability to support a family, create a comfortable retirement for myself, yeah, maybe then I'd fight in a war myself. But until then, I really don't want to hear it. Miss me with that shit, rude boy. Boomers, in reality, are some of the most unremarkable people you will ever meet. But because they had the simple luxury of growing up during one of the single most prosperous times in the history of this country, they all carry this smug attitude, this undeserved conceit and ego, to the point that they actually believe they aren't just products of an economic boom. Rather, they've convinced themselves they're all fucking geniuses. The same people who can't log into Facebook, turn the brightness down on their devices, or enlarge the text have somehow came to the conclusion, somehow convinced themselves that it wasn't the fact they bought their house for 10 grand and a pack of Big League Chew, which is now appreciated 100x several times over, that gave them equity. Rather, to the contrary, it is because of their financial prowess, right? And understanding of markets that has allowed them to build this wealth for themselves. Let a boomer tell it. They are smart as hell, and we are all idiots because they could buy a house at 20 years old while most of us at that age are still living at home with our parents, right? They're constantly going on about back in my day while simultaneously ignoring the fact that they engineered today. They created today's conditions. Back in my day, this is your doing, fucktard. It's quite literally their fault. But here's a fun game. Good luck getting a boomer to ever admit that. From, I don't know, deregulation to climate negligence, outsourcing of jobs, and even entire industries, to the housing crisis. I mean, you name it. Many of the systemic issues, right, started under their watch. And really because of their vote. Instead of owning the mess they created, they tell millennials and Gen Z we're just lazy. hmm They refuse to pass the torch to the next generation, but forever question us on why we aren't advancing. Like, you cannot be serious. And to the millennials, I say this. I get it. I get it. I mean, that is literally the burnout generation right there. And I don't mean burnout as in bums. I mean working yourselves to death, right? You guys got the brochure, you took the loans, chased the jobs, you followed the rules, basically did exactly as you were instructed, all in the hopes of attaining the same level of comfort and prosperity as those that preceded you. You guys have quite literally worked yourselves into the ground, and for nothing. Rather, you found nothing waiting for you besides debt, exhaustion, and the realization that the American dream was essentially just a timeshare scam at the end of the day. You know, I've seen it, right? Even in those close to me, an aunt who suffered a stroke. I mean, for real, due to the sheer amount of stress caused by overworking, just simply trying to get ahead, just to try and get ahead. No guarantee there, just the attempt, right? I mean, it's sad, man. It's sad. It really is. You guys really are the grind generation, right? You put in the long hours chasing stability and financial prosperity, being guided along by the very people who would go on to pull the rug out from under you the second they saw the opportunity. I mean, they wouldn't hesitate, and they don't to this day. Millennials, you have been forced to readapt in real time as the world changes beneath your feet. Not old school enough, not analog enough to fully side with boomers, but also not digital native enough to fully side with Gen Z, right? And this creates both frustration, understandably so, but also empathy, right? Millennials, I think, are like the cultural translators between two different worlds, right? Boomers and Gen Z couldn't be more opposite. And then there's millennials in the middle, kind of straddling the fence, right? Old enough to remember a life before the internet, genuinely. I mean, even I remember a life kind of before the internet, even though it was always there by the time I was born in MySpace and things of that nature. But you guys were old enough to genuinely remember a world without the internet as we know it today, but also young enough to adapt to its takeover, right? Some of you guys are more tech savvy and things, you really embraced it. And that kind of in between, if you will, is where I would put you guys. And this caused, in my opinion, the modern obsession with self-care, therapy, wellness, the emphasis on that whole kind of thing. Millennials really popularized it, I think, just because they were the first to hit collective burnout. I mean, as a generation, just all at once, snap of the fingers, burnout. You guys hit that wall, right? Working gig jobs while still chasing the American dream that kept moving further and further away. And as unfortunate as that is, right, it brings me to my generation. A quick Google tells me being born in 1998. I'm Gen Z, right? The opt-out generation, if you will. We see the bullshit for exactly what it is, and we're not having any of it, that generation, if you will. We see millennials getting pelted with stones from above as they try to scale the defensive walls built by boomers to keep everybody else out. And we're all going, fuck that. Fuck that. I'm not storming the fortress. I'm going to go build my own, right? That's kind of the collective mentality of Gen Z, my generation, in a way. We're monetizing ourselves. We're memeing our way through the apocalypse. I mean, we take almost nothing seriously, or as serious as it actually might be. And we just outright refuse to play a rigged game, right? And the boomers hate us for this. They hate us for this and are constantly trying to shame us into compliance. We use our dark, meme-soaked humor as a defense against a collapsing world. That's it. We're not cynical, in my opinion. We're just desensitized, if you will. People say, Gen Z is apathetic, but in reality, we're the most overexposed, right? We see everything today, from, unfortunately, classroom unaliving to climate crisis and geopolitical chaos, through just TikTok doom scrolling, right? Ever since childhood, really, is when it began. But, let's be fair here. Our dark humor, if you will, is more of a survival mechanism than nihilism, in my opinion. We didn't inherit the old way of thinking, the old 9 to 5 default path. We grew up in an internet world where everything is an option, right? Career paths, lifestyles, even identities, depending on which side of the fence you're on with regarding that. And that abundance of choice, it allows us to be more experimental, right? Where for boomers, starting a business or entrepreneurship was a risk for the most part, you know. But where for millennials, it was a dream, right? However, when you get to Gen Z, I think it's the default. It's second nature at this point, right? We've all got side hustles going, content creation, flipping, e-commerce, coding, drop shipping, vibe coding, affiliate marketing, etc. You know, we don't necessarily see it as a risk in the traditional sense of the word, just standard, normal in it, normal in it. And despite being branded as isolated screen zombies, we have arguably built stronger communities than boomers or millennials, just in more digital ways, you know, in more online spaces, fandoms, Discord servers, niche TikToks, subreddits, you know, you name it. We've been able to create our own sense of community, not limited by geography or immediate location or any of these things that would traditionally get in the way of building a genuine community, right? So I don't think we're as lonely as we're made out to be. But getting back to the main point, we didn't grow up, we as in Gen Z, with the promise of stability in the same way millennials grew up with that kind of messaging. The American dream, it wasn't denied to us. It was just not even handed out, right? We didn't get the brochure. Where boomers worked one job for decades and millennials scrambled through gig work. You know, they're most known for jumping jobs every 2 years, 3 years, just for a $2, $3 pay raise, which I mean, I understand loyalty gets you nowhere with these jobs in these corporations. I mean, I just read a story where there was a woman who donated her kidney for real to her boss in order to save her life. I don't know all the details, some kind of ailment, right? She was in need of a kidney transplant, found out that there was an employee that was a match. She gave up her kidney, literally an organ. I would never, you could not pay me enough money to do this. She donated her kidney to her boss only to then be fired for taking too long to recover. What the fuck, dude? Loyalty to these companies and corporations gets you absolutely nothing. And I think as a generation, we fully understand that and we do not wish to participate. Not only do we not wish to, but we're just refusing, right? So, us of Gen Z, we just kind of assume we'll monetize ourselves in one way or another. That's the hope, at least, right? I'm actually doing this kind of to open up more doors and avenues myself, but it's neither here nor there. Also allows me to just think freely and get some shit off my chest. But at the end of the day, what alternative do we have? Degrees are fucking useless and they absolutely crush you with student loan debt, right? Gig work is oversaturated completely by minorities mostly, and severely underpaid at that. You know, oh, here's your fucking $1.75 tip for my $30 order. Oh, you want more? Like, dude, it's a fucking joke. Unfortunately, it used to be viable, in my opinion, as a side hustle. It used to be my main income for a little while, especially living out of my car, but it's just not the same. It's not the same. So I just think that we really want to try to build something for ourselves, my generation, right? I personally think that Gen Z gets a lot of shit. We get a lot of shit, and undeservedly so, I might add, because we didn't create these circumstances. We inherited them, okay? For the boomers, think about it like this. For the boomers, the world came pre-installed. Life on easy mode, cheats activated, and a lifetime of free DLCs just for the fuck of it. Why not, right? Millennials then ran the program like an unsuspecting Mima, opening an email link instructing her to not redeem the card. Do not click redeem. Only to find out that it fried their fucking circuits, right? And then us, my generation, those of Gen Z, we took one look at the operating system and said, fuck that. I'm just going to jailbreak it. Fuck that, dude. Clearly, it's broken. Clearly, something's not working here. So I think that we see the scam for what it is, and we want no parts of it. We don't, right? So say what you want about Gen Z, but in all honesty, some of these boomers, they're just not dying fast enough, dude. I mean, it's time the torch was passed, okay? You had a good run, a great fucking run. I mean, unbelievable in many ways, in every sense of the word. But your time is up. No matter how bad you wish to hold on to it, sooner or later that day is coming, and hopefully we can right the ship as best as possible once that day finally does come. But I guess with that being said, thank you for listening to my TED Talk. I am Wicks the Board, and this is just the beginning.